Hello there.
You know what I've come for. This is the way.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Hello and welcome back to the Podawakens as we take our trip down the road to the book of Boba Fett. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me today is my cousin Brandon Blevins.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Yeah, and we are talking the best Star Wars film, or at least my favorite Star Wars film.
I agree.
The Empire Strikes Back. So I'm excited to talk this one.
Definitely the darkest film, I believe, of the original trilogy, and even the prequel trilogies too. They didn't get much darker in those regards. Maybe Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith probably
is dark, but I don't know. I still think Empire is the darkest film, and I personally love horror films and dark movies to start with. So I feel like Empire is kind of an easy go-to for me. But why do you like the film so much, Jordan?
I think it's just I actually like it for the not dark parts, I would say. I think there's a lot of hope in this film as well, as much as people probably don't read it that way. As we'll get into it, because I wrote down some notes of specific stuff that I really like in this movie. But also just a big fan of Cloud City. I really like the look of it. Kind of reminds me of Camino, but in the sky, you know.
Very true. Yeah, I can see that relation there. Yeah, that and Hoth. There's a lot of really interesting and diverse planets in this film.
Yeah. I'm not a big Hoth guy, though. I will say the opening of the movie is not my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
I do really enjoy the opening, so I'm curious how our opinions differ there. So.
Yeah, well, we also had a scene in A New Hope that Boba appears in. It's just like the special scene when CGI Jabba, comes over to talk to Han Solo, and Han Solo steps on his tail because originally Jabba was a humanoid person. Yeah. So it's kind of funny the way that works out. But Boba Fett's there. Boba Fett is there. I think that's his only scene, so we don't really.
It is cool to see how they integrated the later stuff into previously cut scenes, because I'm sure when they originally shot that, they didn't plan on having Boba or even half the characters that you do end up seeing from Jabba's palace with Jabba there and stuff. So
yeah, I'm assuming Boba was green screened in or something, because
I would assume so.
He wasn't really appearing until Empire, so I doubt they had like his look defined and then cut him from A New Hope. So I'm assuming they just kind of edited him in there.
Yep. And I can't remember his name, but the blue tentacle man, or I guess he's more white colored, but Jabba's like second-hand man. Yeah, I believe he's also in that scene that was previously cut that we're referring to. But.
Let me see. When I take a look at Boba Fett in A New Hope, his scene has Jabba, it has Boba, it has Greedo, and I don't know if I see Bib here. It's kind of tough to see. Not a lot of good view, but I'm assuming Bib probably wasn't in it, looks like.
Interesting. I know they did incorporate him, I believe, into some of the prequel films.
Yes, I think he's in Phantom with Jabba.
Yeah. Which I think we might have mentioned that in a previous podcast, but
yeah,
we may have mentioned that during Attack of the Clones or something like that, but
yeah, not sure.
Yeah,
but anyway, we have we're going to talk of Empire Strikes Back. Before we do, though, I do want to say I had a really experience last summer, during COVID, when they were opening up some drive-in movie theaters, and before movies were coming back out, Disney and some other companies were allowing drive-in theaters and movie theaters that were open to show select films, and Empire was one of the films. So I went and saw this at the drive-in at Benji's.
Wow, that's really cool. I didn't know
was
they
really
were
cool.
offering it. Yeah, that's
It was
awesome.
crowded too. It was
I bet.
really packed. It was great.
That place is actually usually crowded. I went there earlier on in the summer, and it was still pretty busy it was 2 kind of underrated films too, like not very, highly regarded. So
older films or new releases?
It was new releases.
Okay.
Yeah,
they're kind of back to the new releases, but
yeah,
I got to see Empire, which is, I've never got to see any of these older films in theaters because I'm too young. So the fact that I was able to go see that one specifically, which is my favorite, it wasn't in a theater per se, but, we had movie theater popcorn. We're sitting in the car, watching Empire Strikes Back. It was really cool. It was
on
my
the
mom,
big screen,
my wife, and I. Yeah.
So, can't beat that.
But I guess let's get into it here. They open up on Hoth. We have the probe droid landing, and we see Luke on his Tauntaun. And he's going to, he radios in saying he's going to check out a meeting. And that's when the Wampa attacks Luke and sadly kills his Tauntaun, which was a sad moment because Luke was just saying what a good he was. And then he got murdered.
Yeah, but the Tauntaun does come back to help him, right? Or no,
that's Hans. Yeah, that also dies. Yeah.
Not big fans of Tauntauns, I guess, George Lucas.
No, he
just kill them all off.
Kill them off.
We'll never see him again.
Which is funny because with how cold it is there, you think that they would be adjusted because they live there, but I guess they usually take shelter at a certain point. So
yeah, probably like the Wampa, they live in a cave or some sort of place.
Han talks to Chewie. He's gonna go find the general. He says he's got to leave. He owes money to Jabba, and he needs to pay up or he's a dead man. So this is kind of our first little look at, if we're looking at it from Boba's perspective, looking at Han's perspective here, that over his shoulder thing that we're talking about with A New Hope too, where he runs into Jabba there. He's saying that he owes money. Greedo is going to collect that money in the cantina as well. And then you have Boba Fett, who is employed by Jabba. So then, going from there, that is kind of looming over Han's shoulder here as he is to, as he's trying to figure out where he needs to, where he needs to go. So he wants to leave here and be able to settle up with the money he got from, I guess, saving the galaxy in A New Hope, helping out the rebels. He's going to go pay off Jabba.
He didn't necessarily make any money from doing any of that. I mean, maybe he sold his medal that he was given. But,
I'm pretty sure he made something because they were telling. I think they had paid him before he came back to help Luke, and he was going then, and he came back around to save Luke from blowing up to help.
That's
blow
true.
Up
yeah, he did leave, which you kind of get the assumption that he would be going to go do that. He does mention something like he has to go pay these dues or something like that. So, yeah, good point.
He just doesn't get a chance to do it because then this whole stuff happens. But he says bye to Leia, and Leia, just kind of blows him off a bit.
Yeah.
She's upset that he's leaving.
But she still loves him.
Yeah, secretly.
We
She's
get
not
that nice
willing
little
to say
scene.
it yet.
Yeah. Get the little bit of flirtatious banter,
Right.
Yeah.
We get R2 and 3PO walking in the halls. They find Han, who is trying to fix the Falcon with Chewie, and 3PO says that Leia is concerned about Luke, and he never checked in. So Han's going to go out and find Luke. He's going to get on his Tauntaun and go out to try to find Luke. This is where we see Luke hanging in the Wampa's den, his lightsaber just out of reach, and he pulls it with the Force and cuts himself down. Interesting, because I guess in the creation of the universe, this is the first time we see a Force pull, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we see it in A New Hope at all.
I don't think so either. I don't think they really thought it through enough.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. The Force was more of like in A New Hope, I don't think you see anybody move anything with the Force. It's all mind tricks and like
Well,
knowing how to block and see the blaster bolts. But like,
we get the Force choke from Darth, and he does pick them up with it, right?
oh yeah, I guess.
So I don't know. Maybe
we get a lot of that in this movie too.
Yeah, get plenty of that.
Vader goes through about 5 admirals in this movie. But yeah, he cuts himself down with the lightsaber. He's crawling in the snow and collapses. They closed the blast doors for the Echo base there because they're worried about, I guess, the cold.
The storm. I think it was a storm was on the way too. So
I like 3PO's line here. He says, "Don't worry about Master Luke. He's quite clever for a human being."
I like R2. He's just sitting there like kind of like sad. You can tell like
sad.
The noises they made for him are like yeah. Pretty entertaining.
We get the first instance of Ben calling to Luke in this movie. The last time we got it was, telling him to run in A New Hope while they're in the Death Star and then helping him blow up the Death Star.
Yeah.
So this is also, I think, the first time Ben has communicated to Luke since then, which
that makes
is interesting. Because this
he
is
does seem surprised to see him, and like he almost doesn't believe it. He thinks he's kind of hallucinating almost.
Yeah, and I think this is 3 years after A New Hope. Yeah, so, for 3 years, Han's been helping out. He could have paid his debt, I guess, at any time there. Decided not to. I guess.
Just kind of being lazy and putting it off,
Been
hoping
there.
that Jabba just forgot.
But
clearly didn't.
Ben calls to Luke. So, again, this is the first time he's heard him for about 3 years. That's pretty crazy. Tells him to go find Yoda on Dagobah. And then this is right when Han finds Luke as well. And
he pretty much comes right over the ridge where Obi-Wan was, right?
Yes, yep.
Yeah,
it kind of like cuts through him almost.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Which is cool.
Yeah.
It was interesting, because at first I don't know if you initially realize it's Han either. You're kind of what is this?
Think so,
yeah.
But, Han's Tauntaun dies then, and then we get the famous Han cutting open the Tauntaun to keep Luke warm while he builds a shelter.
And you get to see the steamy guts.
Yeah.
The steam
and I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Yep.
But we get to the next morning, and this is where they have the snow speeders out looking for Han and Luke, and Han answers the call, and we get Luke in a Bacta tank, healing from his wounds. This is also where we get Han really pushing Leia over the edge enough where she kisses Luke, which is ew now, right?
Yeah, it's like, well, looking back at it, I don't know if Lucas intentionally meant it to come across this way. I mean, they had already done it once.
I think the original thing is that this was supposed to be 9 movies originally. With this being, I guess, still number 2 and not 5 at this point. I don't know. But the original plan.
What you're saying is,
the original plan was, when Yoda says, "and there was another," he's talking about somebody else, and that would have been Luke's sister. And what happened is when he decided to wrap it up in Return of the Jedi, he fused those 2 characters together and just said, "Okay, Leia is the sister."
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say because it seems like it could have been planned or maybe not. Either way, she is like Force sensitive, and that, how the film ends, which we'll get to. I don't necessarily want to jump right to it, but it seems like she already is Force sensitive, and they do have some sort of bond. So I'm curious was that just supposed to be she's another Force user, or I always took it as a hint that they were brother and sister.
I think what it was probably meant to be is that you could just reach out. Everybody has access to the Force. I guess it's just how strong you are in it, right? So how high your midichlorians are, right? If we want to tie it back to the prequels.
If we're going to the prequels, but then if we go to the sequel, trilogy, that's thrown out the window. But
it's very he's just reaching out to her, and I think the original mystical aspect of the Force is that, if you're not super strong on the Force, Brandon, I could still reach out to you almost like how
Like-
Obi-Wan does the mind tricks. Those people are not super into the Force, but it's like getting into their mind, almost like a mind trick of Leia, come back for me type of thing.
Okay, that makes sense. I can see how that works.
But
yeah.
when he makes it the sister, it works even better. And now it just
Exactly.
really ties
now
into
it really,
everything.
yeah, made perfect sense.
But yeah, they get made aware of the probe droids. Han goes out there and starts firing at it. It self-destructs. And they decide now is the best time to start the evacuation, as they know the Empire has found their location.
If
And
I
we
could
get-
just quickly mention how I love the design of the probe droids.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool with their like multiple eyes and all. It gives you like a real like creature almost look to this machine. You know,
Right.
it looks like a spider sort of type of.
Yeah, it's
know,
got
like
tons
an
of legs,
insect
yeah.
Sort of. Yeah. Very interesting design. I love it.
And this one we get our first cut to the Star Destroyers here, and Vader's Super Star Destroyer. And, you know, he says that they found him, and he says, set our course to the Hoth system. I just love James Earl Jones' voice for Vader, by the way.
Hoth system.
He's so good.
He is, yeah.
So as they're evacuating, Han and Luke, you know, say good luck to each other.
They all
Vader
kiss. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. That'd be awkward after
Yeah.
just like this awkward three-way between everybody. Vader force chokes the Admiral and promotes Admiral Piet to Admiral as well here. He, I don't think, will be long for the role, if I remember correctly here.
Sounds about right to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leia gives a speech about, you know, what their plan is. And somebody pointed this out online the other day, but Han stops working on the Falcon to watch her speech. And as soon as she's done, he starts working on the Falcon again in the very far distance of the screen.
Interesting. I never noticed that either.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I paid attention to it.
it definitely gives you a bit of a sense that he respects her, or
Mhm.
at least is interested in what she has to say, regardless of what it is. But
Right.
yeah.
Right. And I like this retreat here. They put about 2 or 3 starships in space here, and then the ion cannon gives them some cover and actually takes down like a whole Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
Which
Awesome
is
effect.
pretty strong
too.
cannon too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we get Luke and Dak going into the snow speeders. And you know, we get Dak's line of, "I feel like I can take on the whole Empire myself," and he's incorrect. He's gonna die in just a few moments.
Man. It's so sad, you know. Him and Luke had some nice little buddy cop sort of chemistry.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you know, that little bit of banter back and forth, and I don't know. Luke, I think, could have saved him. In my opinion, it seemed like
Maybe.
wasn't really going all out, but I guess then again, he didn't learn stuff from Yoda yet of
Right.
force pulling things and all. But I don't know. Every time I watch it, I'm like, it looks like Luke had time to do a little bit more for him, but
Maybe. I think he was probably dead on the shot, and I think it's like one
that's
of those
true too.
how the snow
I think he
speeders.
does shake him. Too.
Yeah.
He tries
He
to
does.
wake him up, and maybe
He tries
Luke
to get the
thinks
body
he's
out
dead.
too.
Yeah.
But then the
AT
Yeah.
or at as some people like to refer to them as.
yeah.
Which they do refer to it as that in the film, so technically it's canon. But
AT-ATs?
it's always the AT-AT for me. But yeah, steps right on him. What a way to go!
Yeah, and you know, it's just part of the way the snow speeders are built, I guess. You know, you have them kind of like in this, one's facing one way, one's facing the other way. I don't know how it's working really, but
It's a terrible cockpit layout.
Yes,
I
it
mean,
is.
yeah. You'd think you would have 2 separate entrances to the ship or something, you know, like. But no,
right.
it goes this way up, and then one guy gets in, and the other guy gets in.
Yeah, you think it would be like a
Yes.
opening like that. They both get in. And it
Yeah,
closes
like a
above them or
barn
something.
door style
Yes,
open. Yeah.
But yeah, Dak dies. Luke takes down a walker by, attaching himself to it, opening up the thing with his lightsaber and throwing a grenade in there, which was pretty cool.
Very badass. And
Yes.
I want to say reminiscent of Batman a little bit. I'm curious
I can
where
see
they
that.
got the idea of like the grappling gun sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it worked like a charm though.
It did.
But we get.
But he couldn't do all that effort to save Dak. We need to.
No. He's like, I need to take down this walker.
Yeah. I'll get my revenge, but first you need to die so I can do that.
Yeah. We get Vader entering. He kind of waits a bit, starts entering through the Hoth Echo base. The main, core, 3PO, Leia, Han, and Chewie are escaping through the Falcon, while Luke sees him as he's walking towards his X-wing. He sees the Falcon take off, but it's crazy to think, when we put on all the knowledge we have, as we've watched Attack of the Clones and the Clone Wars and all that, and we see 3PO and R2. 3PO built by Anakin Skywalker. R2 was his wedding present from Padme, and how they're just like inches away from Vader. Vader is tracking down. Anakin Skywalker is so close to the droid he built, and actually his stormtroopers are going to blow it up.
It's very ironic, right? I mean,
yeah.
Just how essentially he built the droid that essentially, well, I mean, I guess you can say R2 saves them at a lot of times too.
Mm-hmm.
But Anakin almost built his own comeuppance at times.
Yes,
They wouldn't have gotten away from the Death Star the first time in New Hope if he hadn't created C-3PO and had R2 and him become like pals. Right. And so very interesting writing. And obviously it probably wasn't like canonical or like,
intended. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But it all pieces together really well at the end of the day. So.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah. It's great. Luke gets in his X-wing. He's with R2, and he says he's going to go to Dagobah. So he branches off from the rest of the rebels. But meanwhile, Han, Chewie, Leia, and 3PO are on the Falcon, and the light speed is still broken. So he has to go into an asteroid field, and this is where we were talking about during Attack of the Clones.
Yep.
Another thing that Boba, I guess, has learned. Boba doesn't really do the hunt here of the asteroids, but he will do later part. But we get another asteroid field bit here. We also get the classic line, never tell me the odds, when 3PO is trying to talk to Han. But they hide on an asteroid, and it's actually into a monster that they're hiding.
Yeah, it's like a giant asteroid worm. I mean, it looks like, if anyone's seen the film Tremors from can't remember the director off the top of my head, but I'm sure somebody's probably seen it. Kevin Bacon's in it, but it really reminds me of the Tremors monster. It's just this giant worm-looking creature, and you never see it again, which is great because it just creates this real dynamic that there's all these creatures out there in this universe, and you never know when you're going to come up on one, So I always enjoy the big worm.
Yeah, it's great. It's probably somebody's hand. It's probably like a puppet in somebody's hand.
I believe it's a hand puppet. Yeah, I've watched the bonus features a few times. I believe they shot it where they had already done like the miniature footage, I think. Yeah, and then they added that on top is the footage of that. I could be wrong. They may have done it all at the same time, but I do believe it's a puppet of sorts. So.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad, right?
Yeah, for 1980, that's really good.
And definitely hits. It's a great moment too, overall, because I personally did not expect it whatsoever when I watched the film for the first time, and I doubt many others do. I
like the scene too, like when you see the mouth closing in and the Falcon goes right between the teeth as they're closing.
It. Yeah, you just see this little fragment of light coming through.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Luke deals with his own monster. He crashes on Dagobah, and R2 falls into into the swamp. And the swamp monster is actually going to spit R2 out. I guess he wasn't tasty enough for the swamp.
Yeah, I guess he just likes flesh and not mechanics. And
yes. So it saves R2 in that moment. Yeah. Spits him all the way out.
It's a good thing to be a droid in this franchise, I guess. I mean...
Yeah.
Unless if you're in Attack of the Clones, but
yeah, true. Yeah. Unless you're a separatist droid, I guess.
Yep.
And then we get the cool scene where we have Vader. The Admiral's coming over to talk to Vader. Vader's got his mask off. It's slowly coming back onto his head.
Such an awesome shot.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll probably see more of that in Obi-Wan. I would think.
I would
right? If we're
assume
getting
so.
Hayden, I feel like you got to have.
Yeah, because I mean, it's extremely reminiscent.
Mhm.
Or, well, I guess in Revenge of the Sith, it's reminiscent of that. However you want to look at it timeline-wise, but, you know, you initially kind of see that type of shot in Revenge of the Sith, where the mess is coming down, and then you get something pretty similar here in Empire, which it looked great. I love the little spherical thing that he sits in as well.
Oh yeah.
If you know what I'm talking about.
Closes like this.
Yeah,
It
such
locks
an
in.
interesting design, and it reminds me of just the Death Star in general. And
Mhm.
I don't know, Anakin has a thing for balls or circles.
Spheres. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Empire is
spheres.
very spherical.
They are.
They
Their
like
logo
that.
is a sphere, essentially,
Yeah.
with some like a cog in it, you know, and
Yeah, because they're very mechanical, I guess. I don't know.
yeah.
But the Admiral tells Vader that the Falcon is in an asteroid field, so they're like, you know, he's trying to say like, okay, we can't go after him, but Vader doesn't have that. He's like, all right, well then go get him. Like, send as many ships as you can into this asteroid field,
Exactly.
and go get him.
Anakin's sitting there thinking back to his starfighter days, and he's like, I would
be
find
able
a
to do
way. I'd find a way. I'd get him. Yeah, so you guys can do it. Doesn't necessarily turn out the best, but
No.
for his soldiers. I don't think he cares though. So
Yeah, I don't think he cares either. You know, with how fast he's going through force choking everybody, I don't think he cares. He doesn't care. We do see Yoda appear now on Dagobah. I put in my notes he annoys Luke here. You know, he's acting like a crazy hermit.
So I'd love to touch on this.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you'll probably agree, but essentially I think he was trying to dissuade any outsiders from thinking that this could potentially be a Jedi Master.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. I also think he is, even if
testing
he knows
Luke too.
Yeah,
testing
even if he knows it's Luke, he's testing him because he really
testing
puts
his
on
will and his patience.
He really puts on the act for quite a while until, you know, he says to Obi-Wan, I cannot teach him, you know.
Yep.
Because you know, I guess it's something Yoda has not learned from the prequels. Is that, you know, he starts saying, "Well, let's get to there in a second. Actually, hold on. I don't want to go too far off the path here, but we do have
because that is following a lot of stuff that's important. Yeah.
Yes.
I see where you're going with this.
So we have 3PO giving Han advice, which I really like about like what's wrong with the ship.
Yep.
And what needs to be fixed, and Han's like, of course I'm gonna fix that, and then he like secretly tells Chewie like, hey, we got to take a look at this thing.
Yeah,
I really like that.
Exactly, acting like he's the one in charge still, essentially.
Yes,
you know?
Not wanting to give 3PO the satisfaction.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. Yep.
And then we
not
get the
relinquishing that you know, captain of the ship role, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
We get Han and Leia having their little moment. They're about to kiss when 3PO interrupts here. Just bad timing on 3PO.
Great timing for us.
Yes. And Leia sneaks
comedic,
away here.
but...
She goes up the stairs, I guess. I don't know how big the Falcon is, but apparently they're able to.
Yeah, I guess it has this multi-level situation. Yeah.
And then we get back to Vader. He has his phone call with Palpatine, where they reference Luke is the son of Anakin Skywalker. He must not be able to become a Jedi. Vader says, hey, what if I convert him to our side? You know? And this really sets up what Vader's plan is for the next film as well.
Overall, is to... Well, I guess we'll touch on that when we get to the next film.
Yeah, because we do have to talk that one.
Exactly. We're definitely going to talk about that one more than probably any of these besides Attack. But
then we get the Yoda and Luke, you know, eating. Yoda is baking for him in his hut, I guess, and you know,
making a mess.
Yeah,
I think that's actually a quote from the film. You're making a mess.
Yeah. Luke asks, you know, how far away is Yoda? So this is again showing his impatience, right? This is where we can really talk about this. Showing his impatience here. Yoda says, soon you will be with him. Luke is talking about how his father, you know, was, I guess, a Jedi, and he's looking for a powerful a powerful war, right? And we do get the first bit of Yoda breaking character here, I
You're
think.
cutting out through my headphones.
Oh, all right, am I?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just me on my end or the recording in general, but just restate the last like sentence.
Okay, I was saying that we get Yoda like breaking some of his character here, where he says, you know, war does not make one great, right? So this is like really, he breaks the kooky frog,
yeah,
to become.
I want to call it like
some
a homeless
wisdom.
man.
Yeah, he shares some wisdom there, but he then kind of starts breaking the illusion more here, and he's like, "Your father, a powerful Jedi, was he?" And you know, Luke's like, "Oh, you knew my father?" Like, and then this is where we get to Yoda saying, "I cannot teach him. There's much anger in him, like his father."
Exactly.
And we get Obi-Wan, you know, kind of responding like, "Wasn't I the same?" Not really, Obi-Wan. You were not as angry as
Yeah, I
Luke
wouldn't
or
say
Anakin.
anger, but impatience. I feel like that could have been a better way to put it. Is he's very impatient and tends to get sort of angry when things aren't going at his pace, I suppose, you know.
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
And then we get back to the Falcon. Leia sees something outside. That's the whole thing where we were talking about they're in a creature. So we go back to Yoda and Luke, and Yoda is now training Luke. He's, you know, on his backpack. He's teaching,
which I love. It looks like those mothers that have like the baby on their fronts, but it's on his back, and I love seeing that scene.
We need Mando to get one for Grogu. You know,
we
like
do. Could you imagine? Yeah, that'd be great.
Yoda's training Luke. He says, you know, Jedis use the Force for knowledge and wisdom, never attack. And I think this really shows how far away the Jedi got in the Clone Wars. They were generals. You know, they were generals in a war. Now, obviously, they were facing droids, so I guess it was a little easier that they're not killing people. But
yeah, at least, you know, they don't get that regret of you're taking someone else's life.
Right.
Know, that sort of situation, yeah.
And then we get the Force Cave, you know, the dark side Force Cave where Luke enters.
Another one of my favorite moments of this film.
Yes, yep. Yeah. And Luke sees Vader and sees his own face in the helmet that is Vader.
Yeah. I love just the way it's shot, this scene specifically. Mm-hmm. The lighting, it's very reminiscent, or I guess they took some of those and used it in Attack of the Clones when Anakin and Dooku are battling towards the end, and it's all dark, and all you see is the blades. I mean, I think this is the real first example of the lightsabers in darkness being like the main source of light. You know what I mean? And it looks great.
Right, it does, yeah. And, you know, I think story-wise, what we get here, too, is very interesting because you have Luke, who's supposed to be learning from Yoda, and he doesn't. You know, Yoda says, you won't need your weapons. And Luke goes with the weapons anyway. Like, he doesn't listen, you know.
And then he battles, like, immediately.
Yes.
You know? Yeah, he instigates, probably, the conflict.
Right.
You know, he doesn't try to solve it with words, which I think that's probably where Yoda was trying to lead this, which I guess, you know, we'll definitely talk about it more in return. But I think that he definitely took that whole situation to heart and did end up taking Yoda's words more into account in returns.
Yes.
If you get what I mean. Yeah. It definitely taught him a lesson.
Right. And, you know, what's interesting, I think, about this moment, too, is, you know, what is the cave trying to say here? Is it a vision Luke is having where he is learning the truth here, that Vader is his father? Or is it that the path he's on by, you know, not listening and being impatient is going to lead him to the dark side?
Him to being there.
Yeah.
That's a great question, honestly. And it's probably, the answer is probably a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure that Yoda already knows, obviously, it's his father, but Luke doesn't at this time. But Luke may be interpreting it as I'm going down this same path almost, where Yoda might be sitting there thinking, yeah, well, because it's your father, which you guys are doing the same things. Yeah. So.
Right. We go quickly back to Vader, and this is where we get Boba. So we get the bounty hunters. You know, we don't need their scum, says one of the Empire people. But we have Bosk, Boba, and IG-88.
And once again, I love Bosk.
Yes.
So great seeing him so many times throughout the franchise now, and in the different forms like Clone Wars and all.
Yeah.
I love seeing him. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great when you watch it in this way. We're like, okay, we already know Bosk and Boba have this relationship.
Exactly.
They're already right there. It's great.
Yep.
We get Vader saying, you know, no disintegrations this time to Boba, and he points to Boba, and it makes me wonder, like, what was Boba doing for Darth Vader before, where he like disintegrated somebody? That's what I want. It's probably in a comic somewhere that I haven't read, but you know, it's interesting.
The relationship that Anakin and Boba spark up, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll just keep referring to Vader as Anakin, but because I'm curious if they ever get that point, and hopefully this will get answered in the book of Boba Fett, which is why we're discussing all of this in the first place. But hopefully they will answer some of those questions. Hopefully we do get to see maybe Boba's first job for Vader, or how they meet, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we get to see like Anakin kind of recollecting that Mace had killed Jango, and then Jango is Boba's father. I'm curious how that plays out. I'd love to see that. Hopefully those questions get answered. So,
yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
This is where the Falcon doesn't have light speed still, and you know it uses to turn off its power to make it look like it took off the light speed. And then let's just quickly talk about how back to the Falcon, they drift away with the debris, and this is where Boba follows. This is where he learned from Attack of the Clones and his father's missteps that Obi-Wan was hiding on the asteroid. He was able to pick up on that and think, let me hang out here and see if, you know, if they're here.
If
they gotta be
comes by. Yeah.
Pretty.
Because I mean, worst comes to worst, I can just continue to catch up. It's not like I have no idea where they went, essentially. I mean, he's going to end up learning from other resources that they have where they are. You know, there's black Empire ships throughout the entire place. So someone will fill him in when they see him. But yeah, it was a smart move by Boba.
Then we get back to Yoda and Luke. Luke is lifting the stones. The X-Wing is sinking. And Luke fails at lifting the X-Wing. And this is where I put in as a question, this is Yoda's best movie, right? Like, I feel like he's so good in this movie. Like, in this speech here, where he says, you know, the Force is my ally. A powerful ally it is. Size matters not. Judge me by my size, do you? And it just, like, he is just, I feel like, really great in this movie. And this is one of the things why I really like this movie, is this dynamic between Yoda and Luke. And Yoda, who, you know, Luke is saying, I can't do this. I can't lift an X-Wing out of the water. It's too big. And that's when Yoda says, you know, size matters not. You know, do you judge me by my size? Because, and it's very, I take it as very inspirational. When you see Yoda lift this X-Wing out of the water, you know, you have Yoda lift this X-Wing out of the water, and it looks effortless. Effortless. And Luke's reaction is, I don't believe it. And you get Yoda's best line here, which is, that is why you fail. And I'm getting kind of choked up thinking about it right now, but I was almost crying. I was almost crying watching this yesterday, because I was like, this is, if you take away all the Star Wars stuff of it too, it's just very inspirational of,
the writing in general is fantastic.
The George McFly part, right? If you put your mind to anything, you know, you can
achieve
accomplish it.
And you have to believe is essentially what Yoda's saying there, and you can do it, you know. But the problem is that Luke's not believing.
Right, and I think what makes this movie work so well is that I don't think of Yoda as a puppet during all of it. Like, he is seriously just a living
believable
creature here. and I get goosebumps, thinking about it at times. But it's just, I think one thing that makes this movie so good, and the music as he was lifting the X-wing out is just perfect by John Williams. It's just, it's just beautiful.
John Williams never fails, but yeah,
right.
It is some great music, and I definitely see your point, and agree that it definitely goes to show on an overall spectrum that size doesn't matter. It's what you believe in and how hard you work for it, and it has a bigger overall message than simply Luke picking up the X-wing. Yeah.
Almost a David versus Goliath thing too, right? Like if size mattered, David wouldn't be able to take down Goliath. But
exactly,
that's kind of what Luke is up against here. And even after he defeated a whole Death Star, he still doesn't believe. It's
and that
insane.
Is the whole thing. Star Wars in itself has a lot of like moral messages similar to that. And it is kind of like a classic tale of, good versus evil and the small little tight community versus this global empire, Yeah. Good point there. I love the way that you put all of that. That was good.
Yeah. We get, at one part when they lose the Falcon, Captain Nita says, "I'll apologize to Vader. I'm sure he'll be okay with that." And then we get Captain Nita dropping dead, and I love this delivery. Vader saying, "Apology accepted. Captain Nita."
Yeah.
And you know what I said? I said
Apology accepted.
I can totally see Hayden Anakin delivering that.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
I
very
agree.
immature, very
Hayden arrogant, and just very hateful. I love that. Yeah.
Then that's where we get the Boba Fett tracking them in the debris. But then, we're back to Yoda and Luke, and Luke is starting to do a little better. He's lifting rocks while he's holding Yoda on his foot while he's standing on his head.
This whole balancing act. Which is an interesting decision, but I guess it goes to show now that Luke has control of the Force as well as his own body.
And, he has a vision of danger for Han and Leia, and actually R2's starting to get lifted up here as well. And then everything comes crashing down as Luke is having this vision, and he has to go to him. And he's going to leave his training. Yoda says, you can't go. And Obi-Wan says, you can't go. Yoda even can't see their fate. And, exactly. Luke has to make the promise, and he says, "I promise to return and finish my training." Obi-Wan says, "I don't want to lose you to the Emperor like I lost Vader." And Yoda says, "Only a Jedi Knight could beat Vader. If you quit now, you will fall to the dark side." And I think it's very interesting when we look at it from what we were looking at in Attack of the Clones, and what we didn't see in Revenge of the Sith because we skipped that one for Boba, but how their mentality, right? Their mentality is, we can't treat Luke the same as Anakin, or else we are right back to...
We're doing the same thing that we already did, and it's going to have the same result.
And while they're worried about that, they're treating him the same way. When they look at
still holding him back and
holding him back. He's too old.
Making him, exactly. And this only further causes more frustration from Luke as it did Anakin.
But there's a difference here. The son is not exactly like the father, right? So we'll see that in the next movie when we'll have more room to talk about that. But then we get another message of hope here. When Obi-Wan says he is our last hope, Yoda says, "No, there is another."
There is another.
So even when all hope is lost, there's still another piece of hope.
I do kind of want to question this. So in Revenge of the Sith, obviously Yoda and Obi-Wan are a large part of Luke and Leia and how things are unfolding and where they go. I mean, at this point, I guess I can talk about it. They're the ones that set Luke up with Owen Lars, and then the ones that set up her on Alderaan. I always have trouble pronouncing it.
Yeah.
Alderaan, right?
With
Alderaan?
Alderaan, yeah.
Alderaan?
Alderaan?
It's
yeah.
O, right?
It's A. It's ALD.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I always thought it was Alderaan. Sorry. I feel like when Obi-Wan initially says it, the Alderaan system.
Yeah, he does speak very royally though. So
yeah,
it's
so
pronounced
that always messed me
Alderaan,
up.
Alderaan, I think, but
So it's Alderaan.
Alderaan. Yeah.
Okay. AAN. So yeah, it's not Alderaan like
Alderaan,
Ron Weasley. Yeah. Okay. Got it. You could cut that if you want.
Well, I mean, we get a
figuring
lot
out
of
Alderaan.
now,
But
even
yeah.
with Hoth, we get George would always call it Hoth for whatever reason. But
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a hard Germany R. Or,
yes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. But anyway, my point was they both played a large part in how that all went. The question is, so did Yoda just assume she was a Force user? Did he know she was a Force user? How did Obi-Wan not know that? You know what I mean? Because it seems like he wasn't aware that Leia was Force sensitive, if you know what I mean. Which is one of the very few little holes in the plot.
Yes, yeah. This is developed because of that plot change that George made.
Yeah.
For making Leia the other. But it, I think, is probably they're not really thinking about training her at that point. I think she's like the last
resort, essentially.
Yeah. I think with the way that she grew up being more a politician, like her mother,
they pictured her more in the Padme role.
Yeah. That they didn't really think of her as a
Jedi or something.
And if they think Luke's too old to train, then Leia would be too old to train as well.
Exactly.
And maybe even Obi-Wan's thinking, well, her planet was just blown up. That'd make her really angry. She would be tempted
further
as well,
her towards
maybe.
the dark side. Interesting concept, especially if she did learn that Vader's her father.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
And in the universe, Luke and Leia hold on to that piece of information for a while. It comes out, I think, 6 or 7 years after Return of the Jedi. It's before Kylo Ren is born. It's before Ben Solo is born. No, he's already born actually at this point. So it's probably, I think, I forget when it was exactly on the timeline, but he's already born and training with Luke at the point that the rest of the universe learns that Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker. It really pissed off a lot of people that Leia held that to her, and people start losing trust in her in that bit in the political aspect.
Well, that does make sense. Interesting.
Yeah.
Was that touched upon in Force Awakens, or
it was in a book? It was in a book called Bloodline, and it was.
Oh, okay. I've heard you bring up the book before. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you've mentioned it on this podcast before. Yeah.
It was a good book. It was interesting, but it was like. So at that point, I think that also leads into why Ben is more prone to falling to the dark side and becoming Kylo Ren, is because he was not even told by his parents and his uncle that Darth Vader was his grandfather. So the fact
until far into his studies of being a Jedi and all.
Right, and that this comes out in public, and he probably learns of it that way.
And I'm sure he also probably got some, what's the term, like brushback? I'm sure people kind of gave him the cold shoulder after learning that. So,
right.
Yeah,
so it's interesting to see how, because you would be like, if you found out Leia and Luke, the people that saved the universe, were also Darth Vader's kids, you'd kind of be like, well, should we trust them? So I can see why they kept it a secret.
Yeah, well, for sure. And I kind of assume that was the situation, since essentially no one did really know except for Luke.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody ever, it's not like Darth ever left the station afterwards. Right. He died there with Luke looking at him, and so Luke was really the only one that could have spilled the beans. Mm-hmm. He probably should have earlier on, Yeah, that's a tough call. But I mean, obviously, there are other people out there in the galaxy that know. I mean, there's
Yeah.
got to be. You
Oh,
know,
I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah. There's got to be some people that know that.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know because Bail Organa got blown up with the rest
Yeah,
of
but I'm
the planet.
sure from people talking. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, I mean, I
Hypothetically.
don't have anybody, to be like confirmation here, but you know, I mean, I would assume Anakin. Geez, Boba probably would have known that because
I don't know.
I would assume. Really, you don't think so?
Yeah, I don't know. I think. Yeah, I don't think he would know because I think most people think Anakin actually died at the end of Revenge of the Sith. So I don't think, and a lot of people know that is Darth Vader. So to the rest of the galaxy, he's just Darth Vader. Nobody really knows
Who he is under the mask. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Except like Obi-Wan and Yoda at that point, but then they're gonna die. So it's really up to Luke and Leia to share that information.
That is a good point.
But we're back on the Falcon. Han is going to see Lando at Bespin. Lando greets them. He has got two great lines back to back here with "How you doing, you old pirate?" and "Hello, what have we here?" When he sees Leia.
Yep.
Billy D. Williams, ladies and gentlemen.
He is a class act. He does great in the film, and he does even better in the next one. So
yes, yeah. And then we have 3PO running into some troopers and gets blasted before he can warn anybody. So
yeah, and then we got Chewie just dragging him on around like like a baseball bag on his back, like when you have like sports equipment. That's what it always reminds me of, is a bag full of sports equipment, this mesh netting backpack thing.
We get also in Cloud City, we have Leia is worried about 3PO because she can't find him. Chewie finds the bits of 3PO getting ready to get burnt up. And then Lando leads them to Vader.
To their doom.
Yes.
Yeah,
and we get Vader with a great line. "We would be honored if you would join us." And Boba Fett rounds the corner. And Lando said he had no choice because they arrived right before Han and Leia did.
Can I say, I don't think I ever actually thought about it till now, but one of the very subtle things that I love about Boba is his little cape.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It makes him more unique than even Django was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really fits the bounty hunter angle. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Especially it's like a little, it's like ripped up, right? It's
exactly. It's all tattered on the end. It looks so great. I didn't really notice it until parts of this film and then the intro of Return. But
right.
Yeah, which is the first time we see him, but it took me multiple watches to gain appreciation for just the subtle little things they did for Boba's character, but he's so minor. That's the best thing about the whole Star Wars franchise in general, is even the minor things get
so much thought,
tiniest details, and yeah,
that's what's great. Is even the background characters are like the reason why people ask for like stuff about like Sidon and Thano or Hondo is because these people, Plo Koon, right? These people are so well designed that you could actually take their whole design and it could carry a whole movie
and
because
do an entire
so
separate film or television series or exactly. I mean, the smallest things have the most intricate details in this franchise, and it's pretty impressive and well thought out, so.
Chewie puts 3PO together in confinement. Han gets tortured by some stormtroopers. Without even asking him any questions, he says later. They just tortured him.
Really?
Yeah. He says, they didn't even ask me any questions.
Interesting.
Boba Fett is outside, and Vader runs into him and says, "You can have Solo once I have Skywalker." And we get Boba saying, "He's no good to me dead." Chewie and Leia are not allowed to leave. Originally, they were supposed to be able to stay with Lando. They have to stay with Lando at this point. Later on, Vader's going to change that, but We also get a good Lando line of, "This deal gets worse all the time." So Lando arrives and says that Vader is giving Han to the bounty hunter, and that they're actually after a guy named Skywalker. And that's when they're kind of putting together the pieces that this is a trap for Luke. Luke is starting to arrive at this point as Vader is putting together the carbonite chamber and testing the carbonite on Han is the plan before using it on Luke.
And honestly, when I watched this for the first time, I didn't know whether or not that meant his death. And I'm sure that was kind of the situation for a lot of people, until you kind of...
I don't think anybody knows what carbon freeze is.
No, we don't know what getting carbon freezed, and then you come out and you're looking like this in a stone-looking block. I feel like most people thought he died at that point, but
right,
yeah.
Until they say it, right? Until they say
no true explanation, during the entire process. So,
well, 3PO does give a little bit of something here, but
frozen, but
he'll be preserved if he survives.
But if he survives, so
right.
At that point, with the screaming face sort of thing, and the look of it, I feel like the general audience assumed he was most likely dead at that point. So
Boba and Vader are leading Han, Leia, and Chewie to the chamber. Lando says you're being put into carbon freeze. Boba asks, "What if he doesn't survive? He's worth a lot to me." Vader just says, "Oh, we'll compensate you."
Well, and that's a good point, but it's so interesting the way that Boba swindles and deals in this film, Because unless if you know kind of the backstory, as we do now, you don't notice it in the first watch, but then on the rewatches, you realize that Boba's playing both Jabba and Vader.
Yes, yeah.
They don't know either one wants the same guy, and he's kind of going for who's the highest bidder here, overall.
Right, I guess what's going to be Boba's plan if he can't bring Han back to Jabba? Just that he gets paid and he shares some of that money with Jabba,
or he just Jabba,
or is he just then
running
from
now,
Jabba?
Now he's thrown into the Han role of being someone that Jabba once killed.
Right.
That's a good question. And I would assume that Darth probably would have paid him pretty decently, So,
Chewie starts to attack, but Han slows him down and says, "You have to take care of Leia." And we get the "I love you, I know" scene, which is famous.
Iconic.
As well.
Yep. Yeah.
And Han gets put in a carbon freeze, and Lando is going to check his vitals, and he did survive. And Vader says he's all yours, and reset it. And Vader orders Lando to take Leia and Chewie to his ship. And this is when I thought you said they were going to stay here with me. And he says, "I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it further," which is just so many good lines in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely knows how to say things well, or
Yes, yeah. Very
you
elegantly put.
Exactly. It's royal enough. It's like an evil king.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, you best pray that I do not alter the deal. Just, I don't know. So interesting.
This is where we see Luke and R2 in the halls, and then Boba is taking Han into in the carbonite to the ship, and Boba's going to shoot at Luke. Lando's starting to form his plan. He calls Lobot on his, Lobot's got like the weird head thing.
Is that the one that Chewie destroys? Doesn't Chewie kind of go after one?
Lobot's like a bald guy with the
gray
stuff around his head.
It looks like an old man with his like earpiece.
Yeah, kind of Patrick Stewart lookalike.
Yes, it looks like Professor X.
Yeah, without it over his eyes. He's got it back here.
Stand. Yeah. Got it.
But Leia yells to Luke that it's a trap, and then this is where R2 gets cut off from Luke as one of the door closes, and Luke arrives in the carbon room, and Vader appears, and they have a battle.
I love this. I love the way that this scene mirrors the cave battle, and it goes to show the same way that Luke kind of went into that. He went into the carbonite chamber battle, the cave battle and the carbonite chamber. He went into it the same sort of way. He kind of does attempt to talk Darth down a little bit, but it's nothing compared to what we end up seeing in Return. And we get to see where those choices end up leading Luke.
Yeah, Vader. Look, if Luke wasn't Vader's character, he's dead. Vader's toying with him the whole time. He's
dead
throwing stuff at him.
Yep.
He's making him run away. He chops off his arm. Like, he is dead to rights.
I think, obviously, this is, looking back and the writing. Obviously, they made decisions in the prequel series that will mirror the original trilogy now, but I think it overall, once again, it worked very effectively, and it was kind of teaching Luke a lesson. And I don't think that Anakin really got that lesson either until he got his arm chopped off by Dooku.
Yeah.
So
he took him too quick. He took Dooku too fast.
He took him way too quick.
By himself.
It was a very reminiscent scene. And I think it was still Vader just going, well, what's the little things I can do to try to make him how I am?
Right.
What led me here? Well, when I got my arm chopped off, it definitely led me down a specific way of reconsidering my actions.
Right.
So, yeah.
But, I mean, does it really, though, in the sense of they can just replace it with a robot arm pretty easily? Like, it looks real. Like, it
looks real, but can he use the Force with that arm?
Yeah. I mean, Vader does, and he's missing both arms.
I know he can, yeah. That's a good point. It's just, yeah.
But
I'm trying to think of... I'm trying to rebuttal a little. I'm trying to be like, well, what would it be? You're actually really right there. What's the point if they can only replace it with like C-3PO's arm eventually? But
right.
Yeah, yeah.
They made a lot of roads in the technology, because at the end of Attack of the Clones, Anakin's looks like crap to have. He just doesn't look realistic at all.
Yeah.
Just gold.
Yep, just a straight up gold arm that has like this little like I don't know even what to call it. It looks like a piece of a car, essentially.
Right.
Yeah, like a piece of a car engine that like kind of pumps up and down a little bit to give him the motions.
So we get Lando's people surprising the troopers. This was his plan here. We get to see Lando's real side here. Chewie starts choking him, though, anyway, for revenge, I guess. But Lando talks him down by saying, hey, we can still save Han, or as he says, Han, if you let me go.
He does. Yeah. And that is another controversial question. Is it Han or Han? For you, Jordan.
For me, it's Han
obviously.
Solo.
Yeah, it's Han Solo for me, too. But
I like that he says Han. Because, and what's good, too, in Solo with Donald Glover, he says Han as well. It's very consistent.
Really?
In that regard.
I didn't know that. I honestly have never seen Solo.
Yeah,
I heard some bad things. Oh, it's good.
Yeah, I know. I really do enjoy Solo, yeah.
I'll have to give it a shot sometime.
Yeah, it's
I hear a lot of bad stuff, and it's kind of like, well, when do I have the time, and do I want to be disappointed? Han's one of my favorite characters of the franchise in general, so...
Yeah, I know. I think Alden played Han pretty well, as best as you can get without having Harrison Ford. And Donald Glover is really good
doing like the entire CGI age reduction sort of situation. Yeah.
R2. So Boba's loading Han into the Slave One. R2 meets up with the gang as Boba's pulling away. And I said, I remember this being a really great Lego level. in the Lego Star Wars.
It was a great Lego level.
It
I
really
remember
was.
that. Yeah, it really was. That was probably at least the best part of Empire in
Yeah.
the Lego level.
Yeah, I really like this
I
one.
love me and you used to play that religiously
All the
that
time.
level. We'd be looking for the collectibles. They really like hid them well. And,
Yeah.
yeah. Cloud City in general was good there, but
yeah,
that
definitely.
level specifically, great. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Back to Luke and Vader. They move on from the carbon room, and in this room, Vader just hurls stuff at Luke until Luke gets kind of blown out of the window, and they go into the next place. But Lando, Leia, and Chewie, R2, and 3PO are escaping to the Falcon. R2's trying to tell them that the hyperdrive wasn't fixed still, but 3PO's like, just shut up and get going.
Yeah. Clearly, they won't get anywhere soon, but hopefully they at least escape. That's the goal. So yeah.
It's good that it wasn't fixed, I guess, really, at that point, because
exactly,
they were able to get
because
Luke.
at that point, you could just blow away, and maybe, like you said, if it wasn't just a strict force connection to Luke and Leia, it was more of you're close by, and he was able to give her that message. Because how I have taken it since is that Luke and Leia, they have the Force. They could communicate wherever in the galaxy. But I think for the film itself,
it's supposed to be
they were in range of being able to send that signal.
Yeah, they were working on 3G, not 5G at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. They weren't getting diseases from 5G.
So back to Luke and Vader. Luke gets his hand cut off. Vader has "Don't make me destroy you." Luke is going to climb further away, and this is where he learns the truth that Vader is his father.
And Jordan, can you tell me the line?
No, I am your father.
Good job, Jordan.
No Luke. No Luke in there.
I'm so proud of you. There is no Luke, but that's the line that everybody says.
Right.
Luke, I am your father. It's no, I am your father. Yeah.
And of course, when they were filming this, they were hiding this fact by having Darth Vader said, Obi-Wan killed your father. Is the line.
Really?
Yes.
And
that was used on set.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
That really, honestly, I may almost prefer
it
that
still fits that
line
too with the Ben, why didn't you tell me? So they were still able to get away with the rest of the scenes on set.
Yeah. And I believe the only one that actually did know that was Mark Hamill and
James Earl Jones.
Because obviously he had to say the line. But yeah, I believe they were the only two that actually got that script. But I do know there were also multiple scripts, which is what I said. Obviously, yeah. So.
And what's cool too is like, even if you wanted to make Darth Vader the father still, and not just another apprentice that went to the dark side, is that line still works from Anakin's point of view.
And that's what I was about to bring up, is it works perfectly because he killed Anakin there, and then Sidious, or
saved him,
however you want to talk about Sidious, Palpatine. Old
Sheev,
yeah. He essentially resurrected him from the dead.
Yeah, saved him pretty. He was hanging on the Force there. But also, if you want to look not physically, Anakin blames Obi-Wan for a lot of the stuff that happens at the end of Revenge of the Sith. He sees Padme and he says, "Oh, because of Obi-Wan. You traveled with Obi-Wan," and he gets really pissed that it really sets him off to the point where he does choke Padme and he does fight Obi-Wan. That from Anakin's point of view, that line would still work.
He is in the right, exactly. Yeah, I agree completely. I think it would have been interesting to get a bit of both there.
Yeah.
Like Obi-Wan killed your father. And then maybe in return, we actually get the twist.
Right.
I think is where it would have worked best. But overall, I respect the decisions they made, and I like the way it ends up.
It worked.
Out.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it works great.
You know what though? Apparently, what I keep hearing from people that were that age, they did not believe Darth Vader at this point. That they were like, he's just trying to throw off Luke. He's not. He's lying.
Well, obviously, I kind of. I don't remember my first watch.
Right. You were
that
young.
well. Yeah, I was so young. But when I look back on it, I can completely see that point. And from a young age, I'm sure that I felt the same way. It was kind of like a deception sort of aspect. No, he's making this up. Exactly.
I got to throw him off. But Luke is going to sacrifice himself. I don't know if he knows he's going to die here or not. He just leaps right into the garbage chute.
It's a leap of faith. Yeah, and a leap of force, essentially.
Yeah, you can read it like that.
Yeah. So,
and that's when Luke calls out to Leia. She has Chewie turn around. Vader leaves, and the Falcon picks up Luke. The hyperdrive still doesn't work, and we get Vader calling to Luke here as well, like my son, And Luke is, Ben, why didn't you tell me? Chewie and Lando try to fix the hyperdrive. They can't. Luke, for some reason, decides to come up and watch what's going on. He comes up with his hand missing, like, I gotta watch
guys,
what's going on.
I could help if you want, but
but R2 fixes the hyperdrive, and I love 3PO telling R2 beforehand that he's not going to be able to fix the hyperdrive. What do you know about fixing a hyperdrive? And then, you're having delusions of grandeur, and R2 fixes it. Of course, he fixed the hyperdrive in episode 1. For the Naboo one.
Yeah, for the Naboo ship. So technically, R2 has that background already.
Yes. Yep. So he does know what he's doing.
Yeah.
The Falcon leaves, and Vader is very upset and silently walks off from the window that he was looking out of. We get Luke with his new hand. His new hand. We get Lando taking off to find Jabba, and he's going with Chewie. And the movie ends with them looking out at like the galaxy, or what was supposed to be. I think then, what I think I've read is that it was supposed to be the Star Wars galaxy, and they were like further off outside of it, but it's changed to be more like a nearby galaxy or something. I don't
know. I don't actually recall that shot. I don't know if I paid attention as well.
It's like, Luke has a new hand. He's got his arm around Leia. The droids are there. They're looking out at
it's like a star system. Yeah. Kind of reminds me of something from Mass Effect, honestly. Like Mass Effect Relay, the way that it looks, But yeah, very interesting. Overall, I think my favorite part of this film is the development of Darth Vader. In itself, and Boba, because that's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for.
But obviously we love that Boba is making his debut, essentially, because in New Hope he got cut,
right?
Or wasn't there,
was put in later, or something like that. Yeah,
something like that. But we love that, and then obviously I think the Darth stuff really works the best. The Yoda stuff's great. The Ben Kenobi, Force Ghost stuff's great. But I love the development of Darth Vader in this film. And I love even the fact that some people are so questionable when they first watch it of whether or not he's being truthful of being his father. It just goes to show, like, how impactful this villain has become. Like, it's, I love it.
Yeah, it's great. This is, like I said, my favorite Star Wars movie. Yep. As I was watching it last night, I just had a smile on my face like the whole time I was watching it. Like, this is so
you can't not be having a good time while watching this one.
Yeah, I mean
maybe for you, the Hoth stuff, you might not like it as much as I do personally, but I love the snow. So instantly, I get to see a snow planet. It's something.
I like snow. I think it's just when I think of Empire, I don't think of Hoth that much. I think more of the Bespin and Dagobah stuff. So when I turn on Empire, I'm like, oh, I gotta go through like 20 minutes of Hoth. I'm like, I want to get to the Yoda stuff. I want to get to the Bespin stuff. Yeah.
I love the Hoth stuff so much. I love how
it was better than I remembered it. Yeah.
But it's really well done. I love the very intricate costuming choices.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way that the stormtroopers look specifically.
Yeah,
I
love
I love that. We get a completely different look from stormtroopers than we ever do get furthermore in the franchise. You never see it again, sadly. Maybe Boba Fett. Come on.
Right.
Let's do it. So that I love the specific vehicles, I guess I'll call them, because technically they're vehicles, the AT-ATs, AT-ATs. I love those. I love I'm trying to think of the specific name, but it is the ships that they use on
the snowspeeder things.
I love the snowspeeders. I think they're really
what's
cool.
interesting is that they're not actually snowspeeders too. If you hear,
it is an actual ship.
But when you hear what the one of the guys says, Han's going out to look for him. He says, "Are the speeders ready?" And they say, "No, we're still adapting them to the cold. Like they're still fitting them to the cold. So they're actually could be on any planet, but they're known as snowspeeders because everybody saw them on Hoth.
Saw them there, and that's why there is a more specific name for it. It's like X-wing, the Y-wing. No,
the Y-wings.
The Y-wings are the other ones, but no, there is a specific name for it. I remember.
It is a T-47 airspeeder.
There you go, the T-47. I think that's what I'm thinking of. But
so it's an airspeeder that is retrofitted to be in the cold for Hoth.
For Hoth, yeah. Very cool though. I love that entire sequence, and talking with you, that's probably the most controversial thing about this movie between me and you.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just not like my favorite part. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think once you get off Hoth, I think the movie is paced beautifully well. It is cutting back between everybody. It's great.
And I can agree that it is paced a little slowly.
At the beginning.
Definitely, yes. For sure, I think there might be a scene or two that you could cut or trim down to make the pacing a little more quick. It's just stuff that I feel like had to be done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you sit there and you watch New Hope, the first half or first act is kind of slow paced as well. I think
New Hope is very slow.
Yeah, it is.
Back then it was fast though. I mean, really, if you look at reviews, people said,
believe me,
too quick.
I have taken my history of film class and all. Once you watch old actual films, 40s, 60s, even before, extremely slow paced throughout the entire film. So, I think that it was mostly a opening that they had to establish a lot, still within a short frame of time, because there was so much else that they did have to cover. I mean, it's like a 2-hour movie almost, if not
2 hours, 7 minutes.
Yeah. And that's with credits probably, but it's a breeze. It is a breeze though. I mean, it flies by, but you could say it jumps into hyperspace. It's so fast.
Yeah.
But,
light speed is not broken in this movie. Yeah.
It is not. Yeah.
But yeah, this was fun. This is actually our shortest one though, too. Our shortest review, which is surprising since we like this one so much. But really, when we look at it from Boba's perspective, and he's working for Jabba at this point. He got Han Solo, so at this point in moviegoers' minds, he is like you said, a badass, right? He is
exactly.
He got the guy. The heroes never lose in these movies, typically, and they do.
Which Han, in the first
fan favorite,
or in New Hope, however you want to look at it, in the first official film, he is the badass of the film. He's the sort of.
He shoots
Boba
first,
Fett.
except for when he doesn't.
He's kind of the Boba Fett of that film. Yeah. He only cares about money. He will shoot you down to get it. He will, only until right towards the end does he have loyalty to any sort of faction, which as well Boba doesn't. I mean, he doesn't have loyalty anywhere. He's going where the credits are, and he's also, you know, trying to make ends meet on both sides. He's trying to get Darth and why am I blanking? Jabba. I kept wanting to say Django.
Yeah.
Jabba. You know, he's playing both sides, which is a very Han sort of thing to do. So you almost expect Boba to really have this large part into the franchise. And I guess we'll talk more about that in Return of the Jedi.
We are getting to that point where he will have a larger role in the franchise than what he did, you know, back then. Because he, like, immediately in George Lucas's mind was killed like really early in the next movie. But, you know, that's being kind of rectified in that regard to give him a little bit more background.
I don't know if Lucas necessarily planned on him dying that quickly either.
I think he did. I think he probably didn't.
Well, they state that it takes the pit monster. I'm sure
Sarlacc, yeah.
Sarlacc pit. That is it.
Yep.
Man, I need to look into specifics sometimes.
You know, brush up your lore here.
Yeah, I do. I should have known Sarlacc pit. That's one that I really should have known off the top of my head. But it takes them over, what, a few thousand years to digest their food.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do believe they specifically state that in the film.
They do, yeah. Because they're like, it'll be a slow death, yeah.
Exactly. So I do think that there was potential to keep Boba around. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there was, but I guess we'll get into that next week when we talk Return of the Jedi. But, you know, at this point, he's working for Jabba. He's doing his thing. And we'll see where that leads him.
Honestly, at this point, Boba looks like an A1 bounty hunter.
Yeah.
He got the main man. He's driving away. Job done. Nobody interrupting his business. I mean, he has a crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
Boba
we'll see.
Good in this film.
We'll see where that leads him because he's on top right now. But, you know, the villains don't stay on top long in the Star Wars universe. So
no one stays ahead of the game for too long.
Right.
In the Star Wars universe.
So we'll see how that leads him there. But if you want to give us a follow or give us your thoughts on this series, Twitter at podawakens, facebook.com/podawakens, Instagram at podawakens. I've been posting some pictures on there lately. And email podawakens@gmail.com. And we will catch you all next week.
See you guys.
I have spoken.
It's over, Anakin!